The horse, Equus caballus, an animal that has been one of the most vital domesticated animals in history. The horse has been crucial to civilization for tens of thousands of years, heavily involved in conquest and warfare, transportation, sport, and art. Legendary are its power and beauty. Not only have these herd animals been vital to humanity with their highly social intelligent ways, they also have one of the best documented evolutionary lineages in all of paleontology. The first ancestral horse, Hyracotherium, also called Eohippus and the dawn horse, appeared during the early Eocene period, which occurred approximately 39 to 56 million years ago in both North America and Europe. This ancestral horse was so vastly different from modern equines that it was initially suspected that there was no relationship between the two. The modern-day horse stands at 15.2 hands high, which is approximately 154 centimeters, while the Hyracotherium stood between 4.2 and 5 hands, which is about 43 to 51 centimeters. It was dwarfed in comparison to the modern horse, and its main features were its arched back, raised hindquarters, and their padded feet. The hooves were one of the features most unlike the modern equine. The modern equine has a single unpadded hoof on each leg, while the dawn horse had 4 functional padded toes on their forefeet and 3 on their hind feet. The teeth were also vastly different from the modern equine, as they had a browser diet of leaves rather than grass. The fact that it was a woodland browser is further emphasized by the lack of a large and flexible muzzle, which is used for the picking of grass, and the omnivore-like teeth, which were suited to the consumption of leaves, bushes, buds, and berries. To an even further extent, it can be deduced that the dawn horse was not as intelligent as the modern-day equine, as they had a brain that was far smaller and less complex. This is proven by the formation of the cranium. As the Eocene period progressed, the teeth of the Eohippus changed gradually, but the skeleton itself underwent very minor changes. It was during the Oligocene period that any vast difference was observed. Of course, before then, there had already been 2 now extinct horses, the Orohippus and the Epihippus. At the start of the Oligocene period, which was about 25 to 35 million years ago, there was the Mesohippus, which brought some interesting developments to the evolution of the modern horse. It is known as the middle horse, as it is somewhat of an intermediate between the dawn horse and the modern horse. It is known that in this period there was a lot of gene flow occurring, as that is what created the genetic diversity in early modern-day domesticated horses. The central toes of their feet enlarged in order to bear about half of their weight, and their teeth changed to have a higher crown of enamel. Now this adaptation had to occur as these ancient horses were living in the Alps of Europe and the mountains of America, which had a reduced amount of moisture. This meant that grass became the plains vegetation and made for an unyielding footing for any animals. Grazing creatures that had adapted to have higher crown teeth had an advantage, as their teeth endured the harsh sand-coated grass to a much greater extent than those that did not have that adaptation. The firm ground that the Mesohippus was required to adapt to removed the need for a broad foot, as the adaptation of a long foot that carried weight on the center was desired for the speed that it provided in food or escape. The long-lasting teeth and the flight instinct gave this species an improved chance of survival. This flight instinct can still be found in the horse today. The Mesohippus was also larger and more horse-like, as it stood at approximately 6 hands. It had a snout that resembled a muzzle, and it had a larger brain. Evidently, the traits of the Eohippus were not desirable for their survival, and therefore they reduced in commonality. Obviously, there is a substantial difference between the modern-day horse and the dawn horse. This can be seen in just a depiction of the two together. This vast difference is a result of 55 million years of evolution and steady natural selection. The natural selection that occurred in this period was so substantial that the modern equine is an animal with tenfold the size of the dawn horse. The horse has evolved such a great deal, where the only features that remained from the Eohippus were the central digit of the feet, which became the single hoof, and the teeth and jaw, which evolved to account for harsher foods. There are several adaptations that remain from the following extinct horses. such as their flight mechanism, their long necks so that they can eat without lying down, and raise it high to identify danger. Its large eyes are on the sides of its head, so they have increased near all-around vision. They have large ears, and they also have large nostrils to identify danger. Horses have been a domesticated animal for over 6,000 years, and during that time have not changed overly much. It has been identified that the domesticated horse has a very diverse ancestry, with an extremely large gene pool, but during their time of domestication there have been a vast number of breeding incidents which have narrowed the genetic diversity. It is unlikely in the near future that any drastic natural event will permanently alter the physical features of the domesticated horse, due to the fact that it is at the mercy of human desire. If humans desire any alteration of the horses, then they will resort to genetically modified engineering to achieve their desired results, and if the horse was to change slightly due to evolution, humans will most likely genetically modify them to be the same once again. This is, of course, not to say that a serious event such as an ice age won't happen, which will cause a mass event of natural selection. With the current state of our globe, thanks to greenhouse gas emissions and the climate change that is occurring, that is indeed a possibility.